Welcome into the Solo Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Manna. Happy Solo Shot Saturday, everyone. It is a Super Bowl Saturday here from the ETV Community Media Center. The Chiefs will be going for the first NFL three-peat tomorrow against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sure a lot of people are excited about that. But baseball is right around the corner, and oh my God, Pete Alonso has re-signed with the New York Mets, 2 years, $54 million. He will be paid $30 million in the first year and have an opt-out after said season. This was a complete fumble of the bag from Pete Alonso. In the summer of 2023, he was offered a 7-year commitment for $150 million from the New York Mets, an extension when he still had arbitration years left. And he said no. He hit free agency coming off a year where, he still was able to, hit 34 home runs and drive in over 80 runs on a good Mets offense, but he was a 2.6 WAR player, which you need those, and that kind of power doesn't grow on trees, but not necessarily the kind of guy that gets you super excited here for giving out that 6-7 year commitment, that $200 million thing that Scott Boras convinced him that he was going to be able to get the Prince Fielder contract. Coming off this kind of season, it just wasn't going to happen. The first baseman market has been super suppressed the last, half decade or so, as teams have moved away from the traditional stats and moved to a more analytical mindset. It's like, well, I'm signing you for what you can do, not for what you have done. And I'm also signing you with, if I'm signing you long term, I need to have some place I can put you. And Pete Alonso, as a below average defensive first baseman, is someone who would be kind of locked into first base or DH for that kind of contract. But this makes the Mets extremely scary. They stood their ground. Steve Cohen, after his Winterfest interview, saying that he's tired, that the Pete Alonso conversation has been exhausting, and that it's a one-sided discussion, was able to get Pete Alonso to take this deal. And while Pete Alonso was not worth the 7 years, $200 million he was looking for, Pete Alonso for $30 million in 2025 is well worth it, because, like I said, that power does not grow on trees. And replacing, a Brett Beatty or a Ronnie Maruccio in the lineup playing third base with Pete Alonso's bat is a huge upgrade. It makes the Mets extremely scary. They haven't brought back Jose Iglesias yet because of those young infielders. They haven't brought back Jose Quintana, who's still out there. Luis Severino got a ridiculous amount of money from the A's, but they brought back Alonso. They brought back Jesse Winker. They brought back Ryan Stanek. They brought back Sean Manaea. And they supplemented those moves with, Clay Holmes and Frankie Montas as similar low impact, high upside rotation additions. They added AJ Minter to the back of that bullpen, a guy that knows the NL East very well. And getting Pete Alonso and Juan Soto hitting back-to-back in its lineup, it's extremely, extremely exciting. Pete Alonso had more money and years on the table from Toronto and said that, hey, I'd rather, stay with this organization that I'm comfortable with, play in this lineup that's extremely scary and exciting, and bet on myself to hopefully be able to get a bigger commitment next offseason, where he'll be, 31 years old. So it's very interesting here. I think the Mets got a home run, pun intended, with this deal. Pete Alonso is back. And if you look at this Mets lineup, it's essentially the same as it was last year, but you're adding Juan Soto to it, and it's just very scary. This was a Mets team that I really enjoyed following the ride of them, the Mick Mets. Oh my God, everything was so fun with this Mets team, and a lot of those vibes will be coming back next year. And what's great about this, I think, and being really undersold, is that this still allows the Mets to stay flexible. He has that opt-out. But even if he opts in, it'll be for $24 million, which is, a significant bargain from what they're getting for him this year. and it still allows them to give that big commitment to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. next offseason if that's something that they're interested in doing. Another, 26-year-old free agent with a ton of potential and longevity on the way in his career. It also allows them to take one of those, extra infielders they have right now, whether it be Luis Acuna, whether it be Ronnie Maruccio, whether it be Brett Beatty, and package them with some of these prospects that aren't going to help the major league team this year, and go and add, a key bullpen piece or a starter to this rotation to help fill it out. I know they're expecting big things from Kadai Senga, who's going to be coming into the season healthy and had a fantastic rookie season here in MLB. But they still seem to be one pitcher away in the starting rotation, and teams like this that are pushing for the postseason can always use more bullpen help. But all in all, I think this Pete Alonso thing is a win for the Mets in many facets. It makes them extremely scary. It puts them right back up there in the NL East with the Phillies and the Braves. A lot of people were saying, oh, well, trade out Alonso's bat for Soto's. That's an upgrade. It is. But they didn't add a ton else. And now, being able to do that Alonso trade, it makes the Soto addition not a replacement, but a true addition. And that, helps level up teams, as we saw it did with the New York Yankees last season. That kind of, plate discipline and on base, being in front of a slugger, helps those solo shots turn into 2 or 3 run home runs. And it's really, really exciting for them to continue to be flexible, have the ability to go out there and get a pitcher, during spring training, during the trade deadline, whatever it may be. The Mets are very, very scary right now and will definitely be in play to win the NL East in 2025 with this move. Pete Alonso back with the Mets, completely fumbled. Another Scott Boras horror story in terms of finances and years. But we'll see if, like Matt Chapman and like Blake Snell, that he's able to get the long-term commitment the next time around. Now, there is a team that, isn't like the Mets. They don't care about, the window that they currently have, and that is the Pittsburgh Pirates. And they signed Tommy Pham for $4 million. I really liked the move. I couldn't believe that Tommy Pham went into last season unsigned. The White Sox picked him up. He was quality. They were able to trade him. Tommy Pham will be playing for his 10th major league franchise, as he has turned into really like a hired gun. And I like his veteran leadership for that Pirates clubhouse. I do. But when you look at the Pirates offseason, they brought back Adam Frazier, who used to play for the Pirates. They re-signed Andrew McCutchen to be their DH, who, is a leader in that clubhouse. They signed Tommy Pham. They signed Tim Meza. But you look at the Pirates, Paul Skeens, is one of the most household names in baseball right now. He just got announced as one of the 3 cover athletes for MLB The Show. He is, one of the most popular players in the game, which does not happen very often for a pure pitcher. And he's in his prime. He came up last season and, ERA extremely low, 200 strikeouts. Like, the guy is insane. Has some of the best stuff we've ever seen, the most hyped pitching prospects since Steven Strasburg. And he's not alone in that rotation. Jared Jones had a very fantastic rookie year last season. They also have a Keller, who they signed to an extension, who is a quality, a former All-Star, but a quality, 2, 3, 4 starter. And then they have, Bubba Chandler as a top pitching prospect coming up through the ranks, who, some people out there think has the potential to be better than Keller and Jones, be that number 2 to Skeens' 1. And a guy who is just totally forgot about. This Pirates team is very, very deep in the pitching world. And for a team that doesn't have, that high ability to payroll, this is the window for the Pirates to make a postseason push, especially in an NL Central that is not, uber competitive. The Cubs spent some money this offseason, made some trades. The Cardinals have unloaded some money. The Brewers have stayed about the same. The Pirates can definitely make some moves here in the margins and get right back up there. And I almost akin it to a rookie quarterback contract in the NFL. This is the time for the Pirates to, spend some money and go out there and get some offensive pieces. The last 40 home run hitter for the Pittsburgh Pirates was Willie Stargell in the 70s. They need a power bat. They need, consistent hitters at multiple spots. And this is the window to do it because you have young, controllable pitching. You have 4 guys with legit all-star potential in your rotation, for the next couple years. And you go out there this offseason and your moves are to sign Adam Frazier, Tommy Pham, and Tim Mesa. The Pirates just flat out don't care. They were willing to, be more aggressive trying to buy the Paul Skeens debut patch rookie auto than they have been to, try to make this team better. And that is just crazy to me when you have a sensation like Paul Skeens, and he's not alone in that rotation. You have, studs both in the rotation and on the way. This team can truly, truly take that next leap. Like I think the Cincinnati Reds are going to take this offseason. They have that potential, and they're just squandering it because they do not care. They're acting like a poverty franchise, and they're seeing Paul Skeens. They're seeing all the money he's generating, and they're saying, well, while he's under control, we'll be, a little bit more in the profit margin than we typically are, and we'll just enjoy it while it lasts. It's a total shame. And, it really shows the difference. I told you guys that the rest of the league's having a mid-off. There's only like 4 or 5 teams in Major League Baseball that are really trying, that are really spending, that are looking to add and be competitive. And the Pirates, aren't even doing that. So it's a shame for those fans. It's a shame for the NL Central in total, because I think the Pirates are a team that could be right in the thick of it, but likely aren't to. Unless, a bunch of these young hitters start to break out. They could bring in some, low years, higher AAV players to help boost this lineup and give this pitching staff, which has a ton of potential, some run support. So, pitchers and catchers, speaking of pitchers, are reporting this week. It's always super exciting. The Red Sox had Truck Day the other day. A lot of other teams do the same kind of thing where they show all the equipment getting shipped out to Florida or Arizona. And it's one of the most magical times of the year because it signals that baseball is back. I know we have the big game on Sunday, and that's going to be really exciting. Hockey season's still going on. The NBA is pushing. But baseball is truly been my favorite sport. It's been my love for so long, and I know a lot of you feel the same way. And seeing these pitchers and catchers reporting for the first time, having the interviews, doing some catch, seeing some of these guys in the new uniform and gear for the first time, running around throwing. It's really exciting, and it's a signal that baseball is back. And it's so exciting to see that across the league. There's a lot of pitching talent, a lot of catching talent that'll be reporting. Hitters will be not too far behind, and we're really starting to get into the hype of baseball season. So it's just really, really exciting. Pitchers and catchers will be reporting, and there'll be plenty of storylines that come out this week that I'll be covering next Saturday, talking about, the initial, surprises and things that are being hyped up from pitchers and catchers, pitchers that added a new pitch, teams that are really excited about certain prospects, making the jump and, making that, initial 26-man roster for opening day. Here at the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, we're going to throw back down the third baseline to this day in baseball history. And there was quite a bit that I could choose from here on February 8th. There was the Hall of Fame inductions of Josh Gibson and Buck Leonard, who were the second and third Negro League players to ever be elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. That was a huge, huge day in baseball. There was, different trades and signings that happened. But what I thought was interesting here, as someone who's also a hobbyist here in the baseball world, is that on this date in 1962, the Federal Trade Commission had, approached Topps and accused them of a monopoly and inducted an investigation on how they kind of got Bowman out of business and how no other major marketers were making, main series baseball cards. And it's extremely interesting to revisit that because it was until 1980 that a court ruled and allowed competition, and Donruss and Fleer came along and Upper Deck later on. But now we look at the hobby that is today. We know what the 2025 Topps design looks like, and some of the parallels and chase cards that will be in that. But Topps got bought by Fanatics a few years ago, and Fanatics is, pushing the boundaries of what a monopoly is as well, because they're running their own shows with Fanatics Fest. They have their own, auction platform that the Paul Skeens rookie card is going to be on. They have, live sales and, have bought different sellers and distributors and, grading companies. When is going to be the point where Fanatics becomes that modern day monopoly that Topps was accused of being in the early 60s? It's something interesting. I don't think it's something that gets talked about a lot. I think Fanatics has done a lot of good for this hobby, especially getting the players involved more in terms of, social media clips, showing off their collections, doing collabs, the, cards in the back pocket during a game, actual MLB game. They've done a lot of interesting things. But when you look at the business side of things, they've really, put Panini out of work in terms of baseball, and they're going to later on in football and stuff as well. And Fanatics just has so much money that they're really, cornering down the market here in the sports card hobby. They also, own Mitchell and Ness, and a lot of these, they make a lot of the jerseys and sell a lot of the merchandise for these professional sports teams in the Big Four sports. So it really is a lot of the money going to Fanatics in the sports world right now, and I'm not sure how long that's going to happen unchecked. It could be a 18-year gap, like it was from that 1962 accusation and Federal Trade Commission interview, and but all the way to 1980 when a court actually ruled in the favor of other companies making licensed Major League Baseball sets. So I'd love for competition to go back. I've missed Upper Deck Baseball for years. I thought Panini did a great job with unlicensed stuff and would have loved to see some of their cards with licensing. So I'm hoping, down the road that, history will repeat itself, and that Fanatics will have to give up a little piece of the pie and open back things to a world where, it's not, all a one-stop train here on the Fanatics Express. Rounding out the show here, Alex Bregman is the last big free agent unsigned. I know there's a lot of guys that are still out there without homes that should have been signed by now. And Bregman is kind of the poster child for this now. But it was talked about that this new strategy for Major League Baseball teams is to sweat free agents and, call out their bluff, wait until they come down to their number, because there's, no salary cap. There's no salary minimum. There's no date that these players need to be signed by. And it allows teams to just, okay, we'll wait. And if we have to, play a team controllable asset in that spot instead of a potential all-star, we'll do that. But, if we get him for our number, we'll be really happy. And Alex Bregman, his bluff has been called because he essentially is saying that he's looking for 6-7 year commitment, which the Astros offered him at the beginning of the offseason. They offered him 6 for $156. Apparently, multiple teams have offered him 4+ years in Toronto and Detroit. The Cubs also have potentially offered him a 4-year deal. The Red Sox offered him a shorter term deal. And now these teams are waiting to see what his decision is going to be. Does he really need those years and that commitment? Does he really just want to go to the best place for him as a hitter and for him to win? Teams are calling his bluff. And like I said, pitchers and catchers are reporting this week. Backs against the wall for Alex Bregman. You don't want to have a late start, whether you're getting a short or long-term commitment. And it's just a shame. I think, Rob Manfred needs to step in. I think he needs to implement, a spending floor that all major league teams need to spend this much on their roster. And I also think they need to add some deadlines. And maybe something that, could be really appealing, especially for these guys that are getting 1 and 2 year deals, is, you have to sign a player by X date to get the compensatory draft pick for them to be eligible for it. Because then, these players that teams want on these short-term deals, they'll be able to get the compensatory pick by a certain date. And then if they don't, maybe they'll be out. Maybe they'll change their offer. Maybe they'll be more aggressive with their offers and actually give the player more money. Something needs to be done because these free agents can't be getting sweated like this. And I'm not just talking about the big names from Scott Boras, because Scott Boras puts out these outlandish, expectations for his clients. But there's tons of other talented players that deserve to be on opening day rosters that are out there right now. And it's happened the last handful of off seasons. Teams have just decided to wait. We have a pipeline of young, controllable people that can fill those spots if needed. And like I said, it's a mid-off. They're just saying, yes, he adds 3 to 5 wins to our team. But without him, we're still, in the chase for that second or third wildcard spot. We have an opportunity to be there as is. And we just need to be good enough. So, Alex Bregman isn't the typical needle mover. He's not, a guy who's likely to make the Hall of Fame one day, but he's a quality player. He's been there before. He's won championships. He would be a great leader for a lot of younger clubhouses. And he's being sweated and his bluff's being called. And it's getting to the point where, everyone's kind of just sick of it and wants him to make up his mind as a fan. But when you look at the major league teams are doing, they're the ones that are in the wrong. And I hope that Major League Baseball institutes some sort of regulations for free agency to stop this kind of, waiting game that we've been playing the last couple off seasons. I know it's happened a handful of times throughout the years where guys sign late for a multitude of reasons, but put some, incentives in there for the teams and for the players to get more money, to get more years, to get these commitments sooner in the offseason. The NBA does all of their major moves in like a 48-hour window. The NFL offseason, as soon as that opens, like a big chunk of the big stars are all signed. So MLB needs to, make a more incentive-based thing. And the NFL has that hard salary cap, which means like, if we're going to spend the money, we got to spend it here. Baseball doesn't need a hard salary cap. They might need a hard salary floor. So these teams that are spending nothing, spend up. And I'm not saying the Jose Leclerc $10 million deals, but like actually, improve their rosters. And I think the future of baseball will be a lot brighter once those kind of things get put in place. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending part of your Saturday here with me, Mookie, Adam, Orlando, Will, everyone that was in the chat. Thank you so much. Hope everyone enjoys Super Bowl Sunday. It's one of the greatest sports days of the year for us sports fans. And I hope those of you here on the Northeast with the incoming snow, stay safe. Make sure, you take your time on the roads and do all those things you need to do to get around safely. Appreciate each and every one of you. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you haven't already, and share this show with a friend who loves the game of baseball as much as we do. I'm Dominic Manna, and I'll see you guys next week.